to this Training Together video on the rules surrounding the Gift Aid Small Donation Scheme. This clip won't show you how to open a government gateway and how to make an ordinary gift aid claim. But what we will show you is the rules surrounding the community building option and how you can claim on up to £5,000 worth of donations on each community building, which would result in a tax rebate of up to £1,250. So the Gift Aid Small Donation Scheme enables you to reclaim gift aid on money that's just given in loose collection on the plate. But the rules state that it must be at a service. For us, there must be some religious element to what's happening. So if you're holding a coffee morning, then it wouldn't count. But if you're holding a coffee morning where prayer takes place or there is some kind of spiritual reflection, then you could claim, as long as the money is given as a free will donation and not in return for the price of a cup of coffee. The other rule states there must be at least 10 people taking part in the service. At least 10, that includes the clergy, the organist, whoever. The other magic number is 20. You can only claim on £20 worth of donation or under. So if you're lucky enough that somebody does toss a £50 note into your collection plate, you can't claim gift aid on that. The other thing that's a little bit more complicated is what constitutes a community building. So let's have a look at that. Your church is a community building if you have at least 6 services a year within that building. There may be 2 churches within the parish, you can count them both, as long as they're within a separate curtilage. So if this one's at one end of town and this one's at the other, they're 2 separate community buildings and you can claim up to £5,000 for each of them. The village hall is a community building if you hold services there at least 6 times a year. And likewise the school, but only if you're holding services for 6 times a year. If you go into a residential care home to take a service, that doesn't count. It's not seen by HMRC as a community building. Likewise, if you have house groups that meet at the parsonage or anyone else's home, those don't count. If your village hall is connected to your church, then that only counts as one building. So this scheme is all about cash. It's for cash donations only. You can't include cheques, direct debits, standing orders, electronic fund transfers. Just cash, and for each individual it's up to a maximum of £20 at any one time. If an individual offers a donation of more than £20, I would ask them to put it in a regular gift aid envelope. You don't use this scheme to claim for your regular givers who do operate under the normal gift aid scheme. I'll explain why we don't do that in a minute. You don't use this for the gift direct scheme, and you also can't use this for the money you take out of the offertory box or the wall safe, because you can't be sure how many people were in the building when that donation was made. And finally, if somebody isn't really giving a donation but is paying for a benefit, for example, I give you £1 for a cup of coffee, that's not a donation, that's paying for coffee. So be very careful about how you implement this scheme. I said a moment ago that you do need to carry on doing your regular gift aid claim. This is because HMRC requires you to demonstrate a track record. You need to have done at least 2 claims in the last 4 years so that they know that you're ready to join this scheme. You also need to make a claim on £500 worth of regular gift aid donations to trigger the ability to claim on £5,000 worth of small donations. So, if the people who are putting money in regular gift aid envelopes are giving at least £500 a year to your church, you can claim the full £5,000. What if they're not? What if last year you made a claim on £300 worth of donations? You multiply that figure by 10 and then you can claim on small donations, that's loose change in the plate, of up to £3,000. So you take the figure that you claimed on last year and you multiply it by 10, and that will give you what you can claim on. So you're making a claim. What documentation do you need to support it? Firstly, you'll need a signed vestry form for each service that you're claiming against. You can download the vestry form off the diocesan website. Also, you'll need to be able to show how many people attended the service. That's simple for us because we have our service registers. Thirdly, you'll need to be able to prove that you or the treasurer have banked at least the amount of cash that you say has come in. And you can do that just by putting a little bit more detail onto the paying in stub. If you do those three things, you can back up your claim. So, everything's in place, you're ready to make a claim. Please note that under the small donation scheme, you only claim once a year. You can leave it for 2 years if that's better for you. You make your claim in the same way as the normal gift aid. You go in through your gateway and so on, but instead of downloading a normal schedule, you use the community building schedule. Fill in the totals and attach it in the usual way. Please note also that for community buildings and the small donation scheme, instead of our financial year, which is January to December, you're required to make your claim based on April to March. If you want detailed guidance on how to make a claim, there are excellent resources on www.parishresources.org.uk. I wish you well with it.